Hi, this is Brian from BrianCandleTPRS.com with a demonstration of Nuestra Historia 3. Nuestra Historia 3 is part of the Voces digital curriculum that includes levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Spanish. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate part of level 3. However, the entire curriculum was built on the value of a story, understanding how stories engage our students, the importance of cultural awareness from all Spanish-speaking countries, AP themes and preparation. Even from level 1, students are being prepared to be successful on an AP or IB exam. Useful high-frequency structures, all of the vocabulary structures and new language pieces that students see are useful for the stories, but also in other situations because they are very high frequency. Collaboration of CI teachers. I was involved in writing stories for levels 3 and 4. However, several other teachers contributed to all the levels, creating movie talks, creating activities, authentic resources, assessments. Several teachers with much experience and expertise in CI have joined together to create this curriculum. The entire Nuestra Historia curriculum is digital. Students have access via computers or laptops. Printable, so if students do not have access to laptops or computers, the teacher can print any materials or project any materials for the students. And most importantly, customizable. If the teacher wants to include his or her students as characters in the stories can be edited. If there are words that are used and the teacher would like to use a different word, for example, the verb mandar versus enviar, if there's one that the students are more familiar with and the teacher would like to switch those out, it's possible. If there are structures that are included and not highlighted as new target structures, but maybe those structures are not familiar to your students and you'd like to highlight them and make them a target structure and maybe repeat them more times within a story or an activity, the teacher can do that. So there's a lot of power and ability for the teacher to edit and adjust the material. The entire Nuestra Historia curriculum is designed for teachers who are starting with CI and need guidance and structure. Also for experienced CI teachers who are seeking more relevant culture, especially when preparing for AP or IB or other end of program goals. This is the situation for myself. I am experienced with CI and the techniques and the strategies, but I've always felt that I was lacking a vision when it came to a structure of culture and providing a lot of culture and from all over the world and in different ways. So this curriculum gives me an opportunity to do that. There is a free trial available, a full access free trial of all levels of Nuestra Historia at this website, vocesdigital.com/vl-Nuestra Historia. And if you have questions, Aaron at vocesdigital.com, you can send an email to Aaron. And at the office there, they will provide you with all the support you need. This free trial is full access, and why not take advantage of it, right? Get on, see what all it can do, and then have any questions or send any questions to Aaron in the office there. If you want to pause the video here for this website, you can. I'll try to do it at the end of the video as well. If you go to vocesdigital.com, if you forget all this and you go to vocesdigital.com, you'll probably find your way to the free trial. But you do have a free, complete, full access trial available. So let's take a look here at level 3 as an example. I will try to be as brief yet informative as possible because there is so much here we could look at, but I don't want this video to be too long. And again, you have a free trial, so you use this as an introduction and then play around with it yourself. On the left-hand side of your screen is where you can navigate through the entire program. You will see an introduction and then the 6 units. All levels of Nuestra Historia are divided into 6 units. Each one is based on an AP theme. We're going to get into Unit 1 here in a second, and you'll see that there is a lot within each unit. So within the 6 units, there is plenty for you and your students to do. I won't spend a lot of time on this introduction. You can read here a little bit of the vision, the credits. That's me. These teacher resources, which include introductions by some of us who provided materials, grammar sequence, acknowledgments. But let's get into Unit 1 here as an example. Unit 1, ¿Qué es el arte? Obviously, Unit 1 is about art. So if I open it with this little arrow here, I can see it opens everything in Unit 1. Again, we have an introduction. So if I open this introduction, anything that is within these yellow lines, as it says right here, anything surrounded by yellow, the students do not see. And again, you have control of anything you want students to see or not see, but they will not see this ever. These are teacher notes. But they would see this. So if you wanted to use this and show this to students as an introduction with essential questions, everything is based on essential questions. They would have access to that, and then some goals for them. And then this is an activity for students to do as an introduction that they can do and submit. Everything here that students do can be submitted to you, the teacher. Now, so that's the introduction, and again, you can spend more time on that. Every unit is divided into stories. This historieta are the main blocks of a unit. There are 3 short stories. And when I say stories here, sometimes you may call them readings, because if you think story, you may think story script, but it's based on 3 short readings. Then there's a long reading, and within 2 of these short readings, there are alternative versions. So in total, text stories, you have 6 in every unit. You have 3 short stories, 2 alternative versions, and a long story. Let's open up the first one here, Historieta 1, Una experiencia inolvidable. So that's, again, our first block of Unit 1. You see important vocabulary, which, again, students can look at. And again, you have freedom in how you present this. Maybe the students see this on their computer and you talk. Maybe you project this from your computer and talk. Maybe you write it on the board and students never see this. You have the freedom to do it as you'd like. Personal questions, if you think of like PQA, personalized questions and answers, there is a, you can download a PowerPoint with the questions, or again, you could just ask them, you can project them, you can however you'd like to do those personalized questions based on these vocabulary terms that are going to be key, structures I should say, structures that are going to be key for the first short reading. Then you have a story script. When story scripts are for asking stories, TPRS type stories. If you are comfortable and you do that, here's a script that you can use. If you don't do it, you can get on to the short story. The thing about asking stories and story scripts, if you're familiar with it, is you know that it's very personal and it's every teacher does it differently. So maybe you take this script and you do it exactly as it is written here. Maybe you change it. You certainly want to make it personal to your students. And there are underlined parts of the script, like most story scripts, that you can edit and change according to your class. I think this is probably one of the best places to try to get some humor and silliness. You know, we look for that balance sometimes between silliness and cultural relevance. We'll get a lot of cultural relevance in the short story. Maybe this is the time where we can, between our personalized questions and our stories, sometimes is where we can get a little silliness if we want that. But again, you have freedom, and there's some instruction here how to use the scripts. You have freedom to do a lot or a little with that story script. I personally use stories. I'm sure I will use those story scripts. Then we get into the short story. So again, this is our main piece of block number 1 of unit number 1. And this first one is called an unforgettable experience. We have the vocabulary, which students have worked on already. And then the story. And you can read it to them. You can read it together. They can read it individually. Or, one of my favorite parts of all this is if I go down to the bottom, I have audio. All stories have been read by a native speaker. So you can play this.
Una experiencia inolvidable. José no puede pintar para nada. Tampoco puede...
So You can provide several different repetitions to the story, you reading it, them reading it, a native speaker reading it to them. There are illustrations in most of the stories to help with comprehension or just to make it more enjoyable. And then you have the story. Most stories are between 800 and 1,000 words. They include at least 3 repetitions of all of the structures, often more repetitions. And they are all based on historical or current cultural events, and they're all set in Spanish-speaking countries. So after students read that story, we have usually a grammar, and again, if you want to spend a lot of time with grammar, you can. If you don't want to do this at all, you don't have to, but usually there is some kind of grammar theme or grammar that will come up within the story. Usually it comes up organically, and students can engage with that, and you can instruct that as you'd like. Then we have activities for the story. And again, we could spend a lot of time on this, but you can play with it yourself. There are questions. There are all different kinds of questions, comprehension questions, extended thinking questions based on every story, which you could do together. Students can do on their own. Students can do and submit to you in class, out of class, however. And there are several activities with every story. This one is a listening activity. Let me grab my thing here better. So I can play this audio.
Me parece demasiado complicado y simbólico.
Which comes from the story.
No sé, en mi opinión le falta color. No me llama la atención.
And then students would identify which painting was being described. We have answer the questions here. Okay, so there are activities after every story. And then 2 out of every 3 short stories will have a versión alternativa, or an alternative version, which is usually written from a different point of view, or a new ending, or a what happens next of the short story. They're usually a little shorter, maybe 500 to 800 words, and they include the same target structures. So it's extra exposure to the target structures, continuing on the story, adding more. If you didn't want to use it, if you were finished with the story and you wanted to move on, you can. If you want more exposure, or if you want this to be homework, or however you'd like to use it, there is an alternative extended version, and there are some activities that go along with that as well. So again, the teacher has a lot of power and a lot of control over what happens and how things happen. Everything is customizable. So then I'm back over here on the left. We have an activity of writing a new ending. Then we have some assessment type pieces. Presentational writing. And again, we've added some extra things beyond the story for this presentational writing. You're in Barcelona, and your teacher presents or shows you works of art and asks you to write a series of simple sentences with details, analyzing each other. Oh, by the way, so you see this comes up in stories. Anything that's blue like that can be defined if you hover over it. So again, we have writing here, and then we have rubrics included with all the assessment pieces. Interpersonal speaking. If you are an AP teacher, you will recognize this. Format is used on the AP test, but we can use it here too.
Hola, oye, hoy en clase hiciste unos comentarios.
Students can play and replay and listen to this and then record themselves responding. We have, again, a rubric there. And back again on my left side, I can see that is the end of Historieta Uno, the first block. That's just the first part of Unit 1. Then the second block is based on another short story, Las Arpilleras Modernas. Then block 3 is based on a third short story, and within each one there's alternative versions, there's lots of activities, there are assessments within each block of those. Let's very quickly look at the remaining components of Unit 1 as an example. So we have our short story, and there are 2 others, so there are 3 of those short stories there. And then we have a long story, and the long story is not necessarily much longer than the short stories, but it does include most of the structures that were used in short stories 1, 2, and 3 presented again in a new story. If we open this and look at the story itself, you can see lots of structures. But none of these are new. These were all presented in the first 3 short stories. We have another story, long story here. Again, and as you can see, it's not that much longer, and we have some audio that goes along with it. So there, if we go back over on the left here, we have our 3 short stories, the main blocks, then we have our long story, and there are activities that go with that as well. Then we have this extra section, which includes a lot of authentic materials with activities, articles here, a biography, some interviews, which include videos that were created for the unit.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Luis, Luis, y soy su anfitrión en este video. Actualmente resido.
You see there's a transcript of the video. It can be slowed down. There are activities that go along with it as well. There are multiple videos there. We have movie talk, and we could spend a lot of time looking at the movie talk, but you can again investigate it yourself. We have a script, we have the video, we have activities that go along with the movie talk. We have this activity, which is a speaking activity based on some images. And then we have these panoramas, which are cool, which are again an image, but like a panoramic image of a real place in the Spanish-speaking world with questions that go along with it. If you had a chance to go there, what would you like to do? What do you think? What do you see? So on. We have a can-do checklist. We have some revision evaluation. We have an IPA here based on authentic resources. Again, so more activities, more evaluation. This work summary is kind of a home page for what you assign and what students complete during the unit. So that is Unit 1. Please take advantage of the free trial that you have, full access to investigate the other units and see all that is here. The great part about Nuestra Historia is there's so much, and it's organized so well all in one place. And there's a lot you can do with it. Again, for your free trial, go to this website and feel free to send any questions to this email, or if you'd like to email me with some questions, you can do that. And please take advantage of the free trial and check out all that Nuestra Historia has to offer. Thank you.